Hey everyone, welcome back again. Here's the third part of this tutorial on the mini sprint car. In the second portion there, I said we were going to get into doing the single line cut paths, but I got a little sidetracked, got a little ahead of myself. We focused on the main silhouette outline, and then we did the main dropout, and now we're going to kind of focus on those single line cut paths. So let's kind of get into it here. We've got this done from the first tutorials. We're going to zoom in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to use this pen tool. What I like to do is I just draw a reference line. So this line tells you, if you select it, direct select it here, if you click on it, it tells you the stroke, and this is a very small stroke weight. So what we want to do is we want to weight that to 0.0625, and the reason I use 0.0625 is, you know, a lot of your plasma cutting systems, fine tip consumables, produce a cut width that's 0.03 to 0.04, and so I usually go 1.5 times that width when I'm doing a single line cut path. When I do that, what it does is it allows for a little bit of additional offsetting between your cut paths, and it's just something that I've developed over time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of that line to white. Let's do that. Okay. And then we're going to take out the fill color. We don't want any fill color in there. So anytime you click on this and click on the pen tool, you can actually go and set your node points, and it'll actually pre-program it with the information that's associated with this line. In Illustrator, if you select any entity within Illustrator, it's going to preload all that information up here of what that is. So if you use the pen tool again, it's going to use the same values. Alright. So single line cut path 0.0625, and we're just going to go and look at the artwork here, and we're just going to start putting in some highlights. We're setting nodes from here to here. Let's undo that one time here. We'll select this line, and then if you go over here, now you can drop the nodes in there. Click the pen tool again, create those single line cut paths, and you notice we're not trying to get the cut path so close to the outer outline that it's actually going to cut through. We want to leave sufficient spacing, and that's kind of the reason I weight the lines at 0.0625, is you kind of look at the lines and how close they are to each other, and you can kind of tell if something's going to overlap. Right. Now when it comes to tires, I like to use the ellipse tool to do the tires, and we're just going to pull this into place a little bit here and kind of manipulate the lines, and then if you hold down on the eraser tool, you'll actually see other tools in there. I like the scissor tool, and what I do with the scissor tool is I just go in here and break it. You got to click right on the line, cut it there, and we're going to cut it back over here. And then what you can do is you can use this other little indirect tool, click on it and hit the delete key, and that's going to delete it out. We can also use the pen tool here and drop a node there and a node over here, and try to draw this arc out freehand. We'll see how it looks. I might leave it freehand if it looks all right. See, with freehand you have these areas where you place the node, and a lot of times when you place it, it's not perfectly rounded. So I can try to manipulate that, or I can just delete it out and use this ellipse tool again. It always produces a really nice radius, and so I'm just going to use the scissor tool here again, cut it there, and cut it down to here. I'm going to delete that out. So now we have kind of the outer radius of the tire showing up. We can do a little bit more here. We can actually draw in a little bit of tread. Just draw some angles here. Try not to get the cut paths too close to the other cut paths. If you get this node too close to here, and this one too close to here, and this too close to here, and this too close to here, somebody tries to cut that, it's just going to fall out. It's not going to look good. So when you're placing these nodes, you have to really keep an eye on where you're placing them. And I'm just trying to follow the basic structure of the tread here. Just take a second to kind of finish this off here. Spacing is really important with the cut paths. You don't want to have it erratic and all over the place. It doesn't look as good as it could. Just enough detail to really give you an idea that there's actually some tread on this tire. Let's see, we can work on the inside of the tire here. I'm going to use that ellipse tool and draw the main silhouette of that rim. And with the rims, you got to use the scissor tool here because we don't want that whole piece to fall out. We want to put in some cuts in that in the cut path, delete it out. I like to do it on both sides just to ensure that it's not going to cut out or fall out, I should say. Let's see here. A lot of times with the interior rims, what I like to do is I like to draw a main dropout, and we could have drew that in the second tutorial, but we can draw it here as well. So I'm going to draw from here to here, and we're going to kind of highlight and give this tire some depth by doing so. So we'll draw that and drop back around to here, back over to here. And of course with this, I'm going to manipulate that, make it a little bit better. And let's see, if we direct select it, it's going to give us the values. We're just going to drop that to black, 0.001, and now we're going to use white. So that's in there. And that doesn't look very round in there, so we want to kind of manipulate it and make it look a little more like the inside of a rim. Alright, so now we have the tire kind of squared away. I think the body of this car actually runs through this tire area somewhere right in here. That's part of the body. And the reason I look at it like that is I kind of look at the existing line structure of the artwork, and you have the bumper coming in here, and then it kind of joins in here. So I'm just going to approximate that line right in that area. Let's see, we can continue on with the bars here, and I'm just using that the line tool, trying to get it in the center of this, in the center of the bar. Just keep drawing on it here. And draw this this cross beam. Try not to get too close. This is fairly close down here, so I can indirectly select it and move it back up to here or to there. We just want to make sure that these lines aren't going to cut into each other. So we have that, and I think we've got quite a bit. We can actually probably draw a little piece in here, something like that. Might be a little questionable right there. There's not a lot of metal that's around it, but I think with the values that I place in the artwork when I'm creating the artwork, that if somebody was to cut this with a fine tip consumable, that this little piece of detail will actually show up without causing problems and having a piece drop off. Okay, pen tool again, from here to here, and from here to here. So now if you want to kind of get an idea of what the artwork's looking like, you can click on the main outline, and we can change the opacity back up. And so now if you zoom out, you can kind of see it's taken shape. Okay, so with the front tire, we're going to do a similar approach as we did the rear tire. We're going to use this ellipse tool, or no, we're going to choose the rectangle. The ellipse tool, there we go, third time's a charm. We want to change that color to 0, no color in there, and we want to change the line weight and color to white, 0.001. .0625. There we go. And again, we're going to use the scissor tool. Make a cut here. Make a cut there. Select that out and delete that out. Let's see, we'll use the ellipse tool again. And you got to really develop an eye for where this stuff is going to be cut at, and where it's actually going to get placed. You're always keeping an eye on the proximity between your cut paths. It's very, very important. Use the ellipse tool again, right in here. Just like on the other side, we're going to put a cut in there, that way this whole piece doesn't fall out. Okay, and what we can do is we want to put a highlight in this front tire like we did the rear tire, so I'm just going to select this because that's going to, when I actually use the pen tool, it should come preloaded with all that information about that. So let's see, where do we want the highlight? I think kind of in this area. A lot of times these don't have to be perfect. We just got to kind of eyeball it and see what might be believable. So I don't really care for the look of that inner arc there. So what I'm going to do is actually, I might just try redrawing that again. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this, and I'm actually going to draw this around it. Now this is going to be a kind of an interesting way to do it. I'm going to change that to black, and I'm going to try to bring the white one to the front. So deselect that, and I'm going to go Object, Arrange, bring it to front. And so now I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to minus that out. And now, and I'm getting a little more advanced, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this pen with the pencil tool. I'm just going to cut into it right here, draw around it, and I'm going to change that to white. Now if we select both of these, alright, we have that highlight. So those are some more advanced designing tools and situations that I use. I like to cut away from the main artwork with other artwork to form those perfect angles and corners. But that's something that I can go into a little more detail in some of these more advanced tutorials that we'll be getting into. Okay, draw that with the ellipse tool, copy and paste it. We want to have pretty much the same diameter on all these. We want to make sure the spacing is not too close. So we're looking at this, that's .0625. So, you know, we're at 0.1, maybe 0.125 in between here, which, you know, with my experience, that's plenty enough room. We can kind of bounce these out a little bit more and give them a little more room. And we'll even do maybe something in the middle. Actually, I don't want to do that in the middle. I like to do this. Just something that's going to let people know there's a hub in there. So now we can zoom out. And since we have this overlapping this cut path and this overlapping this cut path, we'll select them all. We'll go into Unite. That way, when it shows up in the DXF file, it's not going to show up as an overlap. So now let's take a look. We'll zoom out and see how this is looking from a distance. Let's see. Click that and go there. So it looks like the tires are coming along fairly well. We can do a little bit more with the rear tire, and I'm just gonna copy this, click on this and copy and paste it, and I'll drag it into place over here. Paste again, throw another one in here, another one here, and another one in here. I think we've got one back over in this area too. So now if we select these two entities here, we'll change the fill color, and I'm going to use a scissor tool. I'm going to cut here, and cut here, and cut there. I'm going to select this piece out and delete it, and select this piece out and delete it. Use the pen tool, click on the node here and the node here, just kind of pull it into place, and do the same with this one as well. So now what we should have is a better accurate representation of those cutouts. And with the front, what we did is we just used the pen tool here, just kind of made a cap. So there's a lot of different ways you can approach the design work, but if you look at it, you know, we're actually adding some pretty good depth to those tires. We can kind of get back here and focus again on just creating those single line cut paths. So we're going to go from here to here and back over to the front here. We can here to here. See from there to there. A lot of different detail in this design. So you just kind of have to pick and choose which ones you want to really focus on. And you're always wanting to make sure that you have sufficient distance or clearance between your cut paths. And that takes time to really understand where to put your lines. Trial and error, you know, and if you have any questions on how something's going to cut out, a lot of times what you can do is you can just isolate, you know, say these different items here, and you can export that as a DXF, and once you get it into your CAM system, you can actually just cut this little piece out on a piece of scrap and see if it's going to cut out correctly. If it doesn't, at least you're not out a lot of material. But it really will help you understand the clearances and your cutting system and what you're capable of, the level of artwork and detail that you're able to achieve with your own cutting system. Just got a little more artwork here to kind of capture. Back over here. And so you can see that I cross this path and cross this path. So what I like to do in that situation is we'll just, since these bars right here are on top, we're going to break the layer that's underneath. That way it shows that these bars are on top of the other bars. And we're actually going to bring this over here because we don't want the cut paths too close to each other. Let's get this shock in the back here, kind of design that up a little bit. Okay, that looks fairly well. All right, we also have this up here. We want to do those. And we have some bars up here that we want to capture. That was a little crooked. We don't want a crooked line. We want a nice straight line here. that from behind. Delete that little one out. Let's see. And what I would do is when you're doing long cut paths, kind of break it up, because having long cut paths run through the artwork kind of makes the artwork unstable if you're trying to move it around. So, you know, this long cut path right here, you could put in just a little cut, and that'll keep it from flopping around. All right, let's see what it kind of looks like now. Click on that main silhouette, change the color. So now it's really looking like a really nice little sprint car. The only thing that's missing right now are the bars through the cockpit, and we can address that right now. Let's use this rectangle tool. Kind of move these into position. You know, of course, you could draw these on your own with the pen tool. I just like how the artwork looks with the straightness of these rectangles. We have some kind of seat in this area, so I'm just going to kind of go where I think the seat might be. Something like this. Just put that in there. Copy and paste this back over here. Shorten that up a little bit. Maybe fatten that bar up a little bit. It looks a little bit bigger. Let's see, we got another bar up here somewhere, it looks like. Maybe right in this area. So now what we can do is we can draw this bounding box through here. We can deselect all the little pieces that we don't want to unite. Go down here to unite, and you notice all the interior detail went out or disappeared. Didn't really disappear. Anytime you create an action, say uniting or minusing front to back, any of these actions, it's going to bring the artwork that you just manipulated to the very forefront. Illustrator works in layers, so there's actually multiple layers. Your main artwork is going to be on the very back layer, and anytime you create an action using unite or minus, it's going to bring it to the front. So what you can do is we can draw this big bounding box around it, everything, and then you can hold in the shift key, select that the main silhouette. Now you have all the interior details, and if you go object, arrange, bring to front, that's going to bring all that detail to the very front again. So that is getting very close to being done with this particular design. So let's see, maybe just a little more design work here we can add into it. We'll change the opacity down so we can see what's underneath. Zoom back in here, and we can do these letters real quick. Let's have these letters drop out. Use the pen tool. We're going to change the color to we'll select off that main outline there. Use the pen tool here. No fill color, and we're just going to drag it to where we think it needs to be around this letter. We'll have these letters actually drop out, and that should give us a little more detail in that upper panel for this mini sprint car. I'm just using the freehand tool, and the freehand tool, you have to plan ahead. You got to go get in front of the artwork and pull it into place, and you don't want to go too far because it's limited in its actions on how you can actually pull the line, but pulling it into a curve is really a nice feature. work on the 3D here. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can always manually manipulate the nodes after we lay the artwork, but we want to try to lay it as close as we can to the original artwork. Just like that. This tutorial is running a little longer than what I wanted it to, but there's a lot of good information in here. Let's see, we're going to select both of these cut paths here. Go to minus. Now if you click on it, it should be one piece. We're going to change that to white and use this rectangle tool here. Draw a nice skinny rectangle. Not too skinny, but we want to make sure that it's fairly wide. I'm going to point 125 here. I'm going to go like this. Change it like this here. And we're doing this so that the center of the D doesn't fall out. We'll change that to black. And now, since the white is on top of the black, we can go into the Pathfinder tool and minus the front. Now if we change that to white, and we change this to white, change that to white, we can click this, and even the main silhouette. And since the white is on top of the black, we can use that minus tool again, and there we go. And once again, it looks like all that other detail work disappeared. It's still there. You just have to take that bounding box, draw it over the top, hold in that shift key, select that main silhouette, and it's going to delete that out of there. Or not delete it out, but it's going to remove it from what was selected. And now you can go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So now we can change the opacity back up. And there we go. We have the sprint car pretty much done. So I think I'm going to stop right here, and the next video I'll show you how to actually export this design as a DXF file.